What's going on? Dylan Conrad, Metabolic AF. Today I'm going to talk to you about the worst fat loss advice for women. Stay tuned for number 5. It is the absolute worst. Before I get into that, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, Spotify, iTunes, hit that bell button, leave a review. All helps the algo. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my backyard. It's kind of a vibe out here. It's beautiful out. Yeah, so I was like, oh, actually, I'll pull this around. If you're watching this on YouTube, backyard's kind of a vibe. Really nice out here. So I'm sitting out my by my fire pit that I'm not going to put on because it's so hot back here. But yeah, just wanted to get this. I made a reel on this actually earlier in the week, and I was like, oh, you know what? There's like so much in there I want to expand on. I feel like in a lot of reels I'm like so just condensed to that amount of time, like 1 minute or 90 seconds, or like usually you try to make them as short as possible, right? Shorter is the better views you get. Here I could actually elaborate on it. So I want to talk about really bad women's fat loss advice that you like have to avoid this like a plague, okay? And again, there's 5 of them. Stay tuned for number 5. It's like the absolute worst. Number 1, okay? Number 1, and I talk to so many women that do this, and they're like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, and you probably can guess it already. It's intermittent fasting. Do intermittent fasting if you want to lose fat. There's nothing magical for fat loss with intermittent fasting. All it does is it shrinks your eating window, and it makes it a lot easier to adhere to your calorie deficit or your macros or both, right? So just by fasting and not taking anything into the equation, it's not going to be a magic pill. It's not going to help you lose fat just because you have a fasted window, right? However, it can be a really good tool for fat loss to adhere, because hunger is the main reason people blow their macros and their calories. So that is actually it's a good tool, but it's not a magic pill by itself. So if you are a woman, you're doing intermittent fasting and you're like expecting to lose fat, don't do that, because what can happen is you're basically eating the same or more, which is causing you to stay the same or gain weight. Or if you are in a deficit, a lot of times what happens with women is going like a super deep deficit, and they hit a plateau really quick because their metabolism goes whoo and meets them, right? That's number 1. Number 2, the old adage of just eat less and move more. This is more like, bodybuilders kind of recommend this. This is kind of where that came from. And yeah, obviously there's some truth in it. To lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. To be in a calorie deficit, if you move more and you eat less, in theory, that should work, right? But what if your metabolism is already here? Most of the women that I talk to that are coming into our program need actually a reverse diet, where they're actually eating more and then losing fat, right? So just kind of focusing on eating more, or eating less, moving more. And also, if you're like a woman, say you're like, oh, I'm gonna move more, I'm gonna run. Running's like the worst. Oh, it's like the next one. Running's the worst thing for fat loss. Which brings me to the next one. Number 3 is running is best for fat loss. It is not. It's not good for fat loss at all, especially with women. For men, yeah, it's actually pretty good. But for women specifically, you want to avoid that continuous, unless you just love it. You're like, I love marathons, I want to race, and yes, of course, in moderation, running's fine, but it does spike cortisol and make it prolonged. And cortisol, if we look at the whole chain of hormonal hormones for women, it all starts with cortisol. So cortisol is too high, too low, or high-low, or any dysregulation, it's going to affect down the chain. Okay, so you want to make sure cortisol is optimized, and doing running is the worst for your cortisol. Okay, so number 3, running is best for weight loss. It is not. Number 4 is take a cheat day. Oh man, there's like, sometimes I'm in the DMs and I'm chatting with these, people that are interested in the program, and they're like, oh yeah, I do this, this, and this, and cheat day. I'm like, oh, well, that's the reason right there. I don't say that, right? I'm like, oh, okay. Because calories aren't binary. It's not like, oh, if I have a cheat day and I go a little bit high that day, or if I go high, I'm gonna see the same, whatever results as if I just went over 100 calories. Like, calories aren't binary. If you go over 100 calories versus if you go over like 1,000 or 2,000 calories, 1,000, 2,000 calories over your calorie maintenance, like, you're going to lose a shit ton of progress. And it's very easy, especially if you are in a deficit during the week and you're really busting your ass, to get a taste of something good and just go YOLO and like the whole day just like overeating, like you can't get satiated. It's not a good move. Cheat meals, 100%. Keep those in nightly, daily, whatever it is, so it breaks that monotony of losing fat, and it just makes it more of a gray area, so you can actually see results and not feel so restricted and actually sustain it. Okay, but cheat meals are great. Okay, how much? 80-20 rule. 20% of your overall caloric intake. 1,800 calorie woman, 360 calories a day. Should be good. That's like, what is that, 3 glasses of wine? Number 5 is avoid X food, or X food will make you fat. No food type is going to make you fat. Yes, it'll be easier for some foods to like overconsume, and some are like hyper-inflammatory, which isn't great for the fat loss process, but no one food is just going to make you fat by eating it. So anyone that's saying like, this is very common wrong, like the Mark Hyman, the Dave Asprey, like the more functional medicine doctor-y vibes, not say, like I know a lot of functional medicine doctors are really fucking smart and they know about reverse dieting and macros and all that stuff. I'm talking about the more ones that like bastardizing oatmeal and like telling people to like stay away from like dumb shit, seed oils. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe they're bad, inflammatory, but like it's not gonna fuck up your process that much, especially if you're tracking your macros. So anyone that says avoiding X food is, don't listen to them, like just actually unfollow them, because a lot of the shit they say is very, very dangerous. But if you look at the fat loss hierarchy, number 1, recovery, right? So how you're sleeping, stress levels. Number 2 is calorie intake. Number 3 is going to be your protein. 4 is going to be exercise, and then we're looking at carbs and fat balance. And then we're looking at food type. So like in the whole fat loss hierarchy, type of food you're eating matters the fucking least. So don't worry about that. So anyways, if you are a busy professional woman, you want to lose 17 or more pounds without cutting out your favorite wine, without avoiding these fat loss mistakes, and you value your time, and you just want to pay and have it all done for you and ensure that you're going to see results and invest in yourself like you invest in college, DM me on Instagram at Dylan A. Conrad, Metabolic AF, for more information on my Metabolic AF as female method. Happy whatever you're listening to this, watching this on you, and love y'all.